congratulations on what you've been able to build so far. Thank you so much for sharing your personal story, and thank you to the team up here for supporting her. Curious to know, how do you quantify the efficacy of your approach versus other methods that may be out there?
Yeah, and so what we do when clients come into our program, they get a pre-assessment, and through the program, such as Talent to Coom, we do post-assessments as well. So we not only use qualitative data to ensure that clients are advancing through the program and we're keeping up the fidelity, but we're also using quantitative data when we're out here building our, when we're out here serving our community during our workshops. We're also using that feedback to drive and fuel our growth in our organization.
Thank you.
Hi, team. I just wanted to touch on having worked in public sector, and I saw a big portion of corporate focus yet dealing with this issue. And in transparency, I work for the DC Mayor's Office on Victim Services in Samsung Youth Traumatic Stress. So I'm curious about engaging local and federal government, given the topic that you're engaging, where there's money set aside from Department of Justice and being able to set yourself up for success in terms of those 5-year kind of contracts. Have you looked to explore, becoming that CBE, looking at how can you create those partnerships with government as well as NGOs and corporations?
Absolutely. We are, we just went to a small business, the Women's Empowerment Summit that happened a couple months or two ago. And so we got introduced to the CBE portion of it, even the women's minority business. So we're looking to obtain a lot of those certificates so that we can engage a lot of those governmental contracts. So yes, it's in motion.
Thank you.
Great presentation, thank you. I'm intrigued by your strategy to go to employers. So what are the types of employers you're going to target, and how are you going to sell to them?
Yeah, so when we did our focus group, we engaged public service organizations. So like law enforcement, teachers, those who experience high burnout rates. And so I shared my story at the beginning because I had a smile on my face, and we're walking around in the world with undisclosed trauma. And so those people who work as first responders in the community sector are walking around with that undisclosed trauma and are being re-traumatized, re-triggered every day that they step in the field. So those types of organizations.
Questions from the audience?
I have the questions from the audience. First question, what is are there opportunities, thank you. What do you have in place in the program, for the program participants after they finish? In addition, how do you measure if the program's successful?
Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned before, we have a pre and post assessment as you enter our program. South Dakota is 16 weeks long. And so we do what we call a post-traumatic growth inventory. And so we measure that information from start to finish. And once they have completed the 16-week program, we track them out for 120 days. And once that 120 days, if they feel like now we have 2 clients who continue to come and see us on an as-needed basis. And so we still keep in contact just to make sure that they are advancing or whatever additional services they may need.
We have lots of great questions here, and I don't know how much more time, but I have one I really want to know the answer to. Finding culturally competent therapists is an ongoing problem for some clients. How do you resolve this concern?
So again, that's why we're trying to enter the corporate space, right? Because there are a lot of, like you said, we lack cultural awareness as it relates to what trauma looks like. People think that we stand in pink, right? We stand with this bright presentation because people think, if you're a victim or you're a trauma survivor, you have to look desolate. And there are a lot of people with positive smiles and positive, energy and vibe. And so we're looking to get into that corporate space to teach individuals not only how to identify, but how to really start from the start, provide a trauma-informed care space. We treat it at the root and not just the symptoms of it. So that's how.
I'm going to ask one more question, and then for those of you that didn't get your question answered, they'll be here. Pardon?
Yeah, me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just informed we were out of time. So thank you very much.
Thank you all.
I've been elevated to